So there it is, mocked up with the radiator and the front grille, everything in place. There's plenty of room, it appears, at least so far. And you can see there's even clearance for the Cummins fan in front of the radiator. I put a board up there to show where the top of the cowl is, and you can see there's plenty of room between the top of the hood and the bottom of the hood and the top of the engine. And so there's plenty of room, so moving up 3 inches would be just fine, and it would also give me some needed clearance where the oil pan hangs down. So if I go much further than 3 inches, then the fan starts to hit the top of the radiator. So it's going to go forward 3 inches and up 3 inches, and I've marked that on the actual frame. So this is what the original Crossmember looked like in the donor vehicle, and the important things here to me are going to be one, this angle here, which is 45 degrees, and the distance between the two motor mounts. That's going to be critical. So I'm going to measure that up. I'm going to make a kind of a really rough control drawing, and then I'm going to transfer it to a accurate drawing, and I'm going to have that cross piece fabricated by a company called Paso Robles Welding, which they can cut it out very accurately and weld it well. So that cross member is going to be an important piece. So this is my hybrid drawing. Just rough dimensions, really not even accurate from a scale standpoint, but it's got all the measurements on it. You can see there's some asymmetry to the frame itself, and it's noted there, and just got it all dimensions. And then I took it over, and this is a accurate 2-scale drawing. I chose 1/4 inch equals 1 inch, and that's going to be the cross member. We're going to get that fabricated. The other thing I'm going to do is have this transmission rebuilt. It was working in the donor vehicle, but you can see there's some leaks. Some of it was oil that got on it when we were taking it out, and some of it's just older oil. And so it's a good idea to get that rebuilt, at least the seals replaced, and then we'll see what else needs to be done. But I'm not going to go haywire on it, but because it was working, it probably won't need a lot, but we're going to take it into transmission shop and have that rebuilt while we're working getting the crossmember fabricated. So what I've done is I've clamped a piece of the pipe to the crossmember, and this is the same pipe that I'm going to use for the tunnel. Using it as a template, I'm going to plasma cut the tunnel into the crossmember. So with both sides cut out on the round, I've got a little template laying on here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the straights. So with the 2 straight cuts and the 2 round cuts cut, I should be able to just tap it off. There it comes. And there's my tunnel. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to try to start this pipe at one end and get about halfway, then I'm going to flare it out this way. So it's not going to just be laid in straight, because it flares out. So we're sort of starting with the pipe because it makes it easier, but we're going to flare it out at both ends to make it clear the max amount. So right now I'm going to just tack it in at the back. Take a look and see how that looks. If everything is good, I'm going to tack it in back here really good, and then I'm going to start bending it around to fit here. Yeah, so I'm just welding it off as I go, and I'm slowly rolling it right here. So that's 1/4 inch steel. Gotta give it enough time to get a nice deep penetration. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. All that's really left is just wire brush it out a little bit. So here you see the cross member in place. There's the clearance right there, and how it fits in the taper. Still got to put the, I'm not going to completely bolt it in yet because I still have to put in the motor mounts and cut away some holes for access, etc., etc. So what I've done right now is I'm out at the donor vehicle, and I've made a bent strip of metal with the exact angles in place, and I've clamped them to the old cross member, and I've gone underneath and I traced exactly where the bolts are. On one side it's a bolt hole, and the other side it's a slot, so that the motor mount on the driver's side can go up and down and adjust so you can get the motor in place. This is the best way I found to try to get the exact same angles and dimensions of the patterns for the mounting the motor mounts. So I've drilled a slot in here and a hole here as accurately as I possibly could, measured this to get it centered on the new cross member, and now I'm just simply going to trace this slot and this hole. I'm going to cut that into the cross member. I'm also going to drill a hole all the way through the cross member in both sides, so that I can also cut a hole in the bottom side for getting a wrench through and tightening up the motor mounts. And that should be it. Let's just confirm I'm in the center. Use my auto punch. Punch the holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a 5/8 hole in all 4 locations, take the cross member out, and then drill the bottom ones out when it's out of the vehicle. But the pilot holes are going to guide it so that they're exact. And then I've already drilled one 5/8 bolt, but that's going to go in here like this. And then the flange is going to get welded, the flange nut's going to get welded to the inside of the crossmember in 8 locations. So I'm ready to weld. I've tightened these bolts up right here, and I have these flange nuts inside. So what I'm just going to do is go ahead and weld those off. So I have it up the Power Wagon up on the hoist. You can see I've bolted it from top side and underside, and then this is the access hole to get to the motor mounts. And that's kind of how it all fits in there. You can see the 2 motor mounts are installed. There's a tunnel here for the differential to come through, and that's how it all fits. And there's plenty of beef to this being 1/4 inch thick, so should work out pretty well. So this is actually the big day that we put the motor in the Power Wagon, and it happens to be Father's Day, which is especially poignant for me because these are my 2 sons. On the right you have Michael, and on the left you have Lucas. And one of the things that happened when they turned 14, we started working on these hot rods over here. 1957 Studebaker Parkview Commander. That's a Woody, drift Woody. And this one over here, which is a 1930 Ford Model A Woody box. And those are Mike and Luke's projects. We're still kind of working on them. But they're here today, because it's Father's Day, to help me put this engine finally in the Power Wagon. So it's not a huge project because it's all set up to go, but it's actually a great moment in any hot rod build where the engine gets transplanted into the vehicle and ends up staying there. So I'm happy to have Mike and Luke here on Father's Day to help me do this.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. Happy Father's Day, Dad.
All right. Now the first thing you see is we've actually cut this cowl out quite a bit more than what we originally planned on doing. And that's just because we just want to make sure we have plenty of clearance for the engine. There's the cross member in place with the motor mounts, all bolted in with grade 8 bolts. And this is the engine, all kind of detailed out a little bit, ready to go in. And there's Luke getting it straightened out, and we're going to get ready to lift it up and stick it on the motor mounts. One motor mount's fast, the other one's got a slot so it can move and take a little jimmying around, but it should go in pretty easy. Okay, here it goes, guys. We'll go ahead and push it in.
Go ahead and push it in.
It's okay, we can move the, lift it up a bit, jack it up. Okay, push it.
There we go. Nice, nice.
Okay, now lower it down.
Lower it down a little bit here.
You know how to lower it,
Yeah,
pull it out,
not
lower
too
it.
fast. Easy.
Okay. Whoa, whoa, that's good
Is that good?
for now.
Okay.
So our problem is right now is right here, this bracket is hitting on here. That's only a motor hoist bracket, so I'm going to take it off altogether, and I've attached a strap over here, and we're going to lift it from the front part and see how that works, because I don't want to have to cut the cowl more than I need to just to get it in. So we'll take this off. Like that. And we'll attach it over here. All right. Okay, final moments. We're just getting that last bolt in. What do you want me to do? Jack it up a little bit, Mike?
Lower it a little bit.
Lower? Okay. Here we go.
Easy.
Luke's underneath on the jack.
See that? It's almost in there.
Yeah, it's just trying to get that last hole in there. This one's on a slider, so.
Okay, my wheels came off again.
Okay, let me get a little tap.
Yeah, all it needs is a tap.
Just a little tap, right? Oh, bam! It's in. All right, so I've bolted on the transmission and got that locked in place. Underneath the car, you can see, so those are the old transfer case brackets, and this is the transmission bracket, rear transmission bracket from the donor vehicle. And that bolts right up to the transmission here, and it looks like it will span, if I bolt it to the underside of the frame, it'll span here pretty well. So that's my next step. So we'll just take these transfer case brackets off, and I'll put the rear transmission bracket in place and see how it fits. How I adjust the angle of the engine is with this jack that has a jack stand and a jack built into one, so I can lock it into position with this lever. It's kind of a handy thing to have. I've got the inspection plate removed off the bottom of the transmission, so I can just jack up the rear bell housing and get any angle I want, and I'm going to find the optimal angle by doing it that way. And then I've done the same thing at the tail end of the transmission. You can see there's the transmission mount, a second jack that's holding this back up. I don't have the bolts into the mounts yet, but I simply just jacked up the whole thing, the cross member and the mount and the tail of the transmission up, and you can see that I'm going to line it up and probably drill some new holes here and bolt it to the underside of my frame rails. And the position is pretty good. There's the clearance right there, which gives enough clearance to clear the frame for the drive shaft. And there's the mount, and everything's going to basically, looks like it's going to slide right in place, hopefully. So coming back up on the top side here, before I go any further, before I put any final bolts in or drill anything through the frame, I want to put my shifter in place. So I've got a shifter that I bought from American Shifter Corporation. I'm going to install that on top of the transmission. Alright, the shift kit is installed, and it's a good thing we did it before you actually jacked up the transmission, so there's room to put it. You could see the linkage, the way it reverses for shifting. Pretty decent kit. I think the only problem I ever had with it was the pretty weak on the instructions, but other than that, it's a really good product from American Shifter, made for the 727 transmission. Here's a good look at the installed crossmember. It bolted right to the frame. I had to drill a few holes and put it right in there, and worked out real well. There's the clearance for the drive shaft, which is plenty. Motor sits in a good angle, just slightly down at the back. Alright, I got my bro-in-law Al back to help sort things out, get this thing back on track. And today we're actually going to try to put the transfer case in the right position. So that's our project for the day.
Okay, so one of the things that's kind of nice about this particular job is that we've got the style of transfer case that's not bolted to the back of the transmission. So that gives us some creative license here to actually locate the transfer case where we want to. So one of the things that we're going to use as a reference point is we're going to use the old drive shaft and try to replicate from this wagon originally what the distance was for this small shaft that went between the transmission and the transfer case. So we've got a newer Cummins engine with the transmission that came in that particular truck. So we're going to adapt this length of shaft between the transmission and the transfer case. And obviously we're going to have to change out one of the splines so it meets up with the transmission properly. But we're using that as a reference point. And then you can see that John had a nicely built cross member here to support the transfer case. So what we're trying to do now is just get the correct length. And we've made some reference marks on the frame itself. And we're just going to trim this piece, and then we should be able to bolt things up together.
So, Al, on this process right now, what is the most critical things we have to think about?
So, you know, if you get on the net, you'll get lots of information on driveline inclination. So that's one of the things that we're trying to replicate here. You can see that this differential has a particular angle to it, and that angle is critical, and it should parallel the angle that comes out of the transmission in the transfer case. So, you know, I'm not going to get into the challenges of understanding driveline inclination here, but for our purposes, if we've got, for argument's sake, a 5-degree tilt upward on the differential, that should match with an equal tilt on the transmission. Actually, in our case, it's with the transfer case. If you don't do that, you're going to end up with a driveline vibration.
And one interesting thing on the transfer case is it looks like it already, it might be hard to see on the video, but it already has a tilt built into it that would have been based on this angle right here. So we can have some slight adjustment in the transmission angle, but it looks very close. And if we had to, we could add washers right here to lower that in the back. I don't know what we'd do if we had to raise it, but that's the critical thing, is to try to get these angles right. We do that, I think we have a vehicle that could go down the highway,
Yep.
or at least has the potential to do that.
Yep.
Okay, that's the plan. So we have the new cross member in place. This is measured exactly 5 1/8 inches from both sides of the old cross member, so I'm assuming that's pretty straight. Going to put a center punch here, here, and there's another one that's going to go right here. I'm going to put 3 bolts in. That's what the old one had 3 rivets. And we'll drill that out, and then we'll bring it out and clamp it to the transfer case, and we'll put it up as a unit. So what we had to do here is we're going to use the pneumatic drill. We had to cut a drill bit in half, and we're going to go drill it like this, just so we can get in between the frame rails.
Okay, thanks for watching in on what we're up to here. So this is the continuation of the Cummins engine installation into this old Army unit. So we've got the transfer case mounted now. You can see that John did a great job of having this cross member built here. It's a nice C-shaped channel. It's equally, if not stronger, than what was in there originally. So we've spent a fair bit of today getting the holes drilled into the frame. You can see that we got 3 holes. There's just 2 bolts in right now, but there's 3 holes aligning the cross member with the frame of the truck, and then there's an additional 4 bolts that hold the transfer case onto this plate. And we're pretty confident that we've got our dry shaft angles in the right spot, and we had to do a fair bit of measurement here to make sure that our front dry shaft was about the correct length in here. So that's what we're going to have for the intermittent shaft, you could call it, between the transmission and the transfer case. And then we've got our front drive shaft obviously coming forward from there, and the back drive shaft here. The back drive shaft is a fair bit shorter than it was factory, but not a total whole lot, but some. So we're just, but we're pretty confident this is going to work out okay.
All right, we're here at Roslyn's Performance Motorsports. We're going to go inside and see if they can fix our drive shafts for us. Okay, so these are the drive shafts all lined up. What we're going to end up doing is buying a new spline piece for this and using the existing transfer case to transmission style. And then he's going to make a new a tube using the same diameter for the front, and he's going to put a fat tube on the back. And here Al is over here at the lathe. Look at the big long lathe for making drive shafts. And I guess that's how he does it. And Danny,
There's a yoke in here that's center the shaft.
oh yeah, there's the
This end and then
there's a yoke already chucked up. Let's come on for a closer view. Yeah, so he chucks up a yoke on one side and puts the, I guess he actually puts the U-joint in it then.
That's right. That's
To
why
make
he
it.
needs a U-joint to make the shaft.
I gotcha. So he's got, what has he got, a 6-jaw chuck on there. That's how it's done.
Yeah, it's
Good. Got all of his parts.